right, good evening and welcome to the Greg Meriwether Show featuring Tahlia Speaks.
Hi guys.
This is our inaugural show, so welcome everyone. We are so happy to have you. We are excited about what we are about to do in Indianapolis. It is an exciting time because this will be, to my knowledge, the first time we'll have our own personal news here in Indianapolis.
Right.
So I'm just super excited about that. So just some quick shout outs just to View You Live, Black on Black Show, Tahlia Speaks. I mean, all our friends out there in TV land. So we're going to really hit on some topics today and focus on some issues that are going on in Indianapolis, and definitely take some time to focus on our main topic, which will be domestic violence today. So what I'll do is I will start out by talking about something that's currently going on in Indianapolis, and we'll give you some Indianapolis news, and that starts with Carrier. And we'll talk about that real quick. Don't worry about that. Carrier, don't worry about the rest. Carrier, 1,400 jobs have been lost with Carrier. They'll be moving to Mexico, which is pretty tragic from my perspective, because when we talk about the country and the direction in which the country is going in, and we look at an election that is taking place now, I think that it is very disappointing to look and see that now there will be a group of people displaced. When you look at that, and we look at Indianapolis from a criminal perspective and high crime, I think it's very tragic to look to say that by the year 2019, we'll be having people who are looking for jobs.
It's really unfortunate. It's hard enough for a lot of minorities to get jobs as it is, and usually they will get jobs in places like Carrier or the larger corporations. They get it on the ground floor, and not only to be displaced, as you said. So it's definitely something that I think that we have to do better as not we, but the community and the leaders have to do better with trying to combat things like this, so that our people can have jobs and can set down some roots and have some stability. Absolutely.
I think one of the biggest issues that I have with the Carrier move, or the Carrier move about to happen, is the CEO who just left ended up having what they would consider in corporate America a golden parachute. I believe he ended up with $195 million. And if you look at a number such as that, and I'm sure it's in stock options and all sorts of things, but I think when you look at that and you take 1,400 people and you take 100, and even if it was 100 million, I think that if you took 5 million of it and broke it up,
right.
I think that it would put the people in a better position than to just send them on their way. A strange dynamic about it is when you look at, then there are so many people coming from Mexico to find jobs, but then you take companies and then you send them to Mexico. So it's a very awkward system that we are seeing, and I think that Indianapolis needs to definitely do something different in order to keep these companies, because you're seeing a huge change in the way that our corporate structure is changing here.
Now, Greg, let me ask you this. Do we know how these employees will be, quote unquote, compensated? Is there any type of severance or anything that they get, job placement?
I would believe that they will get a severance package of some sort. I have talked to some people at Carrier. The main concern for them is the young people, the people who have only been there maybe 1 or 2 years. And generally, when you find companies like that, what they tend to do is give you $1,000 for each year you've been there. So you take a person that's been there 2 years and you end up with $2,000, and that's the last check you get. And then on top of that, you tax it. So all of a sudden, that's not even the money to party.
1 month expense, and even that won't even cover.
At the point of that happening, that's pretty much the end all be all. And I just really hope that our legislation gets behind some other corporations, get behind some people. We definitely need to start being more in the forefront of saying what's going on, so that things like this don't happen. And if I had to just give a shout out to anyone who works for Carrier, I would just say this: do smart by your money, and hopefully we'll be able to get someone on the show before they start going on the moves, because I think the moves take place in 2017. Do smart by your money. And another thing, I think that when you're in this thing of being displaced, I think that one thing the company can do for these people is, one, start bringing people in for jobs, so that they can be prepared to move on with their lives. But also, get some financial advice. Get some financial advice to prepare yourself for whatever is to come, because you never know. Companies always say, we're not going to start cutting until 2019 or 2017, but then all of a sudden, once the news cameras are off, all of a sudden you start seeing cuts start coming in 6 months, because when it's all said and done, if they are since they are truly moving to Mexico, I'm sure there are going to be some other things that take place before that. So let's move on. Bill.
Oh my goodness. This is your hot topic that you've been talking about for 2 weeks. So now the world will get to know how you feel about this. So definitely. So
let me take my glasses off.
Yes.
So Indianapolis, I would urge anyone black, anyone Latino, anyone who would be considered a minority to get involved with this bill, and that bill is the 1019 bill. The 1019 bill is the bill that's going to focus on the police cameras. In this bill, it's been stated that the police will not have to show the public what happens on these cameras. And so it's already been in the State House, so now it's going to be moving on. And so, but right now, today, I believe they're working on revisions in it. But pretty much what would happen is almost an act of God to see what happens on this video. And I think that if this passes, I think that it becomes a free-for-all for our people to get killed. We've seen enough murder. We've seen enough what I would consider blue on black crime. We've seen enough of that, and I think that we've got to get behind this, and you've got to show up at the State House. You've got to call your local representatives, and you've really got to get to a point of saying, we can't allow that to happen. We can't allow that to happen, because there's so much taking place now. And it's so imperative now that we don't go backwards in that regard. We've already seen it. We're already seeing a transition. We're already seeing a change. But we got to do something to make sure that we're not allowing the police to kill our people and get away with it, per se.
Definitely. And a lot of times they don't expect minorities to go and protest or march at the State House and have a voice in bills like this. So like you said, we need to come together because this affects us all. We all have a brother, a father, an uncle, a cousin that has experienced some sort of mistreatment by the police, and it's a sad fact, but it's real, and we can stop. I don't want to say we, but some people refuse to acknowledge that as a real problem. It's, there are good police and a few bad police. You guys need to respect police officers. They protect us. But at the end of the day, the facts don't show that. So, we need to come together. You need to read up on this bill. You need to see what you can do. If it's 30 minutes out of your day to read up on it and to see how you can make a difference, because it's not just, it's a human thing. It's a humanity thing. It's almost like we have to come together and show people that we care, and in turn, when they see that we're not going anywhere, they'll catch on.
And I think, to add to it, I think that, go and learn about it. Go to the State House. You can look up any bill that's out there. Try to find out more about it. Try to learn about it. One thing we need to do is learn how government works. Really learn how government works.
There.
And not only, I know they may not like me, but I'll say this: put some pressure on your city county council. You've really got to get to the point of saying, listen, you run my district, and this is not working. What are you doing to make a difference? And I think that once we do that, I think that you'll start seeing our government make a transition. Don't complain if you don't vote. And if you vote, learn who you're voting for. That is so important. Don't just keep pulling this one lever. We walk in and all my people are Democrats. Don't do it.
Vote for the black person.
Yeah, keep it real.
Let's keep it real.
Keep it real. Hey, he's black. Oh man, I got it with the brother in the spot. No, it's like find out who's doing that thing that's necessary for you and yours to eat. Real talk. And when I mean for you and yours to eat, I mean for you to be able to live the life that you need to live. Not a life of saying, I settle. Get someone in there that says, hey, I'm interested in your well-being and I fight for it every single day. Not about the seat. It's not about them holding that seat. It's a matter of what they do while they're in that seat. Cool.
You said it. You.
And then I have one more thing before we get to our break and then our guest. And that is the 10-point coalition. So I won't even bring them on the screen. I'll say this directly to the camera. 10-point coalition. Wait,
before you go in, tell the people about 10-point coalition. What is that?
The 10-point coalition it was started by the clergy here in Indianapolis, black clergy here in Indianapolis. And what they've done is, what they've become sort of a group who goes around neighborhoods and sort of police them to assure safety and things of that nature. Crime, drugs, people are not selling drugs, people are not acting out in communities, so on and so forth. Anyone who lives here in the Indianapolis area, I'll give you some history. Indianapolis had 144 murders last year. The 10-point coalition exists. So, 10-point coalition, 144 murders. So, to me, doesn't look like the 10-point coalition is not adding up. We need more 10s. So, when we look at this, there needs to be something that happens that says, if you're going to go around these neighborhoods, don't go to neighborhoods that don't need you. I've been seeing in the media where the 10-point coalition is going in neighborhoods and they're saying we've had 150 plus days in the Butler Tarkington area where there have not been any murders. I'll clap. Then I'll stop. Then we got the northwest area that's had 100 days with no murders. I'll clap, and then I'll stop. One thing, let's get this first. Let's know this. Know this, black people. I know us. I'm black. Know this. When it's winter time, we don't really kill each other. Let's keep it real. We get riled up in the heat. You know? I mean, from the time I was a kid, every time school was about to let out or the summer was about to hit, everybody was like, brace yourself for the summer. Going into the summer, we look like somebody's gonna die, right? That's just our culture. We like when the heat hits, the heat hits. So, I'll say this. This is not Talia speaking. This is me speaking. Stop giving us fake numbers. Stop giving us fake news. We know it's not hot, and we know murder is not hot. So when it's all said and done, stop getting out there and acting like you're really doing this thing. And if the Butler Tarkington area does have 150 days with no murders, congratulations, Butler Tarkington area. Now, if it is a 10-point coalition who is doing the grand work and causing the murder to stop, do this. Go to a neighborhood where they're killing. And then we'll believe you when the killing stops. So,
all right. Well, let me ask you this. So, where would you say? Okay, you said the Butler Tarkington area is now better, and you mentioned another area. So, where do you think they need to head next? If you had your say,
I would say go east. Yeah, I would say go east. I think that when you look at the east and you look at the 38th and Post area, and you look at the Old Meadows areas and all those areas around there, absolutely. Go east. Go east, I promise you. No knock to the east side because I have plenty of friends out there, but I promise you'll find what you're looking for. If it's violence you want, go east. They're doing it. They're doing it. And not only that, I'll say this, Pastor Charles Harrison, I'll say this. All the cases in January are cold. There have been no people locked up for the cases from January. So every murder that has happened in January, there has been no one found. So those people are still at large. So while we marching in the area where there are no crimes anymore, help find those people. Because that was the point of all the marching that they did on 30th Street with Northside New Era, was to say, help find the people. So is the mission still talk? Because if people are talking, who are they talking to if you're in the area where no one's killing?
So do you think now it's more about just numbers and publicity per se, or looking good to the public, but not necessarily the action is not behind it as strongly as it was in the beginning when it first came together?
I definitely think it's about it. I think that now you're looking and what, for some odd reason, what happens is in our city is that people become celebrities. And all of a sudden, you know, when you get Lester Holt, I mean, goodness, you get Lester Holt who comes in the city, and all of a sudden you're on the commercial and you're with a world-renowned anchor on NBC News, and he's walking with you, and all of a sudden the mayor and the governor are recognizing you, and they're talking about putting 10-point coalitions all over the state of Indiana, and you're supposed to be spearheading this. I'll tell you this: get up on that north border, try out Gary, try out Michigan City, try out South Bend, and I'll. You know how sometimes you look and you say, oh, such and such moved to California, or they moved to Atlanta.
Right.
That story, and they'll be like, but they're back at home. That's the story we'll hear. They don't want none of Gary. They know it. Wherever they're really killing, wherever they're killing, we know that that's not what they do. So I would just urge the people to pay attention to that. You know, because as long as we look at it and we allow them to give us the facade, and we eat it up and we believe it, all of a sudden, you know, it creeps up on us, you know.
Right.
And listen to this: we've been good at getting crept up on. We've been very good.
Surprise.
Oh Lord, what happened? I thought they wasn't killing no more. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are.
Not funny, but
it's real.
it is real.
Yeah, and I just think that, you know, that's one thing we've got to get serious about, because what happens is when we get false numbers, the fight stops. When we get false numbers, the fight stops. So we say, they're not killing, they're not killing, they're not killing. Then the nonviolence thing goes down. The funding for nonviolent things goes down. The police presence goes down. So don't give me fake. Give me what's real, and if we killing each other, say we killing each other, and go where they're killing, and then at that point, allow whatever systems that are working to work. But those two things we just need to get right. Because if you're going to wear the cameras and let us see them. And if you're going to patrol areas where they're killing. Those things work together.
All of it comes together. Makes it a better place.
It makes it a better place. So let me tell you something. What's exciting is we are going to keep moving forward. This is what this show is going to be. This is what this show is going to be. It's going to be this way all the time. I'm going to go in. So y'all going to see Greg come in and
I'm going to try to bring it back.
And Talia try to bring me back in the building, because we really do. This show is about you. This show is about you, and it's about everything you do, and it's about you getting everything that you deserve. Because one thing is for sure, there have been people that have offered you, and you. And now we have a responsibility to say, this is not going to die in our hands.
Right.
And for every day we see us go backwards, we're not doing our ancestors right. So I would just say, stick with us. This is going to be an exciting time. This is our inaugural show. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to have our guests, and we're going to be talking about domestic violence. You are tuned in to the Greg Merriweather Show with Talia Speaks.
Be right back.
And let Talia do what she does in that speak. So, Talia.
Well, thank you. So, you know, the next topic conversation is a serious one, and we definitely wanted to take some time out of the show, not only to talk about issues with the community, but, you know, issues with women. I'm a woman, and I represent women of all walks of life, and today I'm so just grateful to our guest, Danyette Smith, who is not only an advocate for domestic violence, but also a survivor who now has a nonprofit organization called Silent No More. Danyette, we can't thank you enough for coming on the show.
Thank you.
So tell us a little about, you know, your background, where you're from, your story, and how you ended up with your non-for-profit organization.
I am from Indianapolis, born and raised. I am a survivor, she stated, from domestic violence. Domestic violence started roughly in about 2006. In about October 2006, it started. The first punch, of course, was a hit in the eye, off guard, didn't know, shocking, surprised, didn't expect it coming, none whatsoever. I held it a secret for a long time. My family never knew about it. They thought that I got in a car accident when I needed surgery to have the plate. I have a plate in my eye as of right now. So they thought that I got in a car accident. And I played that off well. Any abuse that was going on in the home, I hid it to where they never knew about it. I do have 2 children, so they never seen the physical abuse, but because I was sheltered, I sheltered myself in, kind of withdrew myself from the world. That was part of the abuse that I would say that came into play with the children, because I was so sheltered in, and then a lot of things I shut myself down on.
Right.
How Silent No More came about is in 2008, standing in my front room in the midst of crying and saying that I'm going to help women that's going through what I'm going through right now. So that's when the idea came. I started college and got my associate's degree, and then went on to get a bachelor's in human services with child and family development as the core. And in the midst of that, I was still in domestic violence.
Wow.
So while I was learning about the emotional abuse, the physical abuse, I was in the midst and would sit at my computer and just be like, this is me. This is what I'm going through. I can't believe it. So that was my awakening call to identify exactly what I was going through, because I didn't know it. It was new to me. It was the first experience, the only experience. So it didn't identify to me until doing my lessons that I had to complete, that I had to do at night. And then from there, I left him and got a restraining order, and then I was able to. I collected donations. I was like, okay, I just want to collect donations for the domestic violence shelter, the Coburn shelter. So I made a Facebook post and was like, hey, I'm going to collect some donations. Would anybody want to? And when I say the community stood out for it, we were able to house or get enough donations for 65 homes for the Coburn place.
Amazing.
And then from there, I just loved it. The feeling was great of knowing that I was helping women. Children has always been my passion, considering I am a child advocate. So I've always dealt with neglect cases. My first case as a child advocate, still in the midst of domestic violence, was a domestic violence case. So it was crazy because I was still in school, so I knew all the ropes and the signs of domestic violence. But yet that was my first case, so that was just like, oh wow, this is meant to be. Yes, it was meant to be. And from there, Silent No More has took off. My passion is to go in the community and help the kids. They know nothing. I've been to playgrounds, I've been to communities, and I've asked the kids. I've pulled over on the side of the road and asked a group of kids, do you know what domestic violence and child abuse is? They don't know what it is at all. So for me to be able to explain, give them education on it, and then for them to say, oh, well, and then they'll come back with, my dad's not in the home, or, they'll say something of that nature, but they were able to walk away knowing that there is more to it than if they see arguments, it's the norm, or if they see, physical violence in the home, that it's okay, then it's not okay.
Right. So I want to circle back because I think it's really important for not only women to know, but people to know the signs in the beginning, because I'm a firm believer. I have never been in a hit before, but just emotional turmoil in a relationship, emotional abuse, you may call it. I feel like when you look back, there are little signs that you're like, but you kind of overlooked. It's not like this person just came right out and just hauled off and hit you. Can you share some of that with our audience and kind of say, hey, this is when I noticed that something was different, or this was not a normal relationship?
I would say controlling, very controlling. From a woman who didn't have any male figures in her life, that controlling was a sign of love to me, because you didn't know it. So controlling was the one thing. There was never any sign before that in reference to aggression before that. Towards other people, you can say that he may have got aggressive somewhat, but there were other men. It was never other women, so you wouldn't have expected it whatsoever. Again, it was out of the blue, unexpected, not at all. So the controlling was a main factor, but once it happened, that's when it was like, if you don't leave the first time, that's their way of saying, I got it. now I can do it more. So then that's when, the choking comes along. That's when the smacking comes along. That's when another hit comes along. Even after my surgery, I was hit twice in the same eye. So it doesn't matter, if it was, if they care, it's more of that person has a problem. Because I thought it was me. I'm like, okay, well, let me do this. Maybe if I do this better, it will work out. No, it's that person. And until that person can get some help, you'll be beating yourself up trying to fix what you can't fix.
So as far as how they say there's a cycle of abuse, there's a calm period, but something's brewing, then there's a big blow up, then there's oh I love you so much, a doting period, and it's kind of like a cycle. Can you tell me the turning point where you were like, okay, I'm out? And they say that's the most dangerous time to leave a relationship, that's the most dangerous time where your life is threatened, when you say, I'm out. At least that's what I've read. So can you share the moment where you felt like, I have kids, I'm leaving, this is not for me?
Yes, the moment that I said that, I was actually at work. And he came up to my job after me not answering my phone so many times. And he actually came up. You can see, the way I was sitting, I could sit at the front door. He said, I'm about to kill you. So he popped his trunk right in front of the front door, and I couldn't see what he had. So I immediately ran to the front door, locked the front door, and went in the bathroom and called the police. That was, of course, February the 6th. I'll never forget that day. And then from there, the police came, and then I just went straight down to get a restraining order, and I just knew there was no turning back, none whatsoever. Previous before that, because you would have thought that wouldn't have happened. I've had a gun placed to my head and told me not to leave. So it's not so much as a woman is weak. It's more of a fear. And a fear is something that overpowers. You can be the strongest person, but if you have fear in something, that will overpower any strength that you have. So that was it. I couldn't take it anymore. I just the worry and the fear. I just had to go down and involve the police, because I never involved the police before that.
So the children did the children ever experience the abuse?
The children never witnessed it, none whatsoever. What they did, I had sunglasses on. When my eye was fractured and my cornea was moved over out of its socket, they were younger. My daughter was 6 weeks. My youngest daughter was 6 weeks, and that made my other daughter 4. So at that time, they weren't able to identify it then. But as time went on, there was never physical in front of them. It was more so of mommy, oh, something's wrong with mommy, or something, or mommy's in her room, okay, y'all go in there and play. Mommy, just her mind was everywhere else. That having family time with them wasn't the normal family time as an average family that wasn't facing abuse.
And the reason I asked that, I grew up that way in a house of abuse, and it's funny because either the guy will reciprocate, either he'll do it, he'll mimic it, or he'll shun away from it in totality. Thank God, I thank God for what my brother and I have both been people who've never done that, because it's just been it's tragic, because you brought out something that I think about often, is how we mask it. And like you said, you'd go to school, you'd go to work, you'd still live. It's weird, because all of a sudden you become this functioning person in violence. You become a person who is functioning to the degree where people are like, wow, once they hear the story.
Yes.
Because, but then you find out, you go through things, and all of a sudden you're resilient. Because once you come out, you're looking like, I could possibly do anything.
Yes.
And I would just, moving forward, I would just commend you, because especially talking to young men and kids about it, because for all those who, if you've ever experienced domestic violence, the ripple effect that it has with children goes beyond the child. It goes into their adult life, and how they deal with relationships, and how they stay in things. Because when we look at mommy, and if we know, then it's like we stay in things because it's like that's what we see.
And that's the problem with a lot of domestic violence survivors. They don't go back and focus on the children because you're out of it. You've came out of it, you survived, and you've maybe got help. But then they don't go back and focus on the child and to see and explain to them and communicate to them what went on, what was not right and what was right, what was normal and what's not normal. And that's what a lot of our kids are facing today, is that they've seen it and mom's got out of it and she's probably somewhere successful or, living great. But then they're thinking about it, they're facing it, they're going back into their schools or their communities and they have anger. Because that's what was displayed without being corrected or without being communicated, that this isn't correct.
Can you pick up, because I sometimes do it, and it might be wrong, brothers, but I sometimes do it, but can you sometimes just kind of pick up on a dynamic or that feeling when you see a woman out in the public and with that guy and can just be like, that's an abusive relationship?
Definitely. I can pick
What does it
up
look
on
like?
There isn't a look. She has a look of, she's not confident. She has a look of worry, and you won't know it unless you've been through it.
Right.
There is something in her eye when she looks at you that will let you identify that she's being abused. Whether it's physical, emotionally, or financially abused, she's not happy in that relationship. And you really don't have to say too many words to me at all for me to be able to identify it.
I think there are some key things too that, like he said, on the outside looking in, you can see people and kind of tilt your head like, I wonder what's going on there. But isolation is what I noticed, like with a friend or, a close relative, like, man, they don't come around as much. They're not at family functions as much. They always make excuses, or when they come around, their husband or significant other is not with them. So, you definitely want to reach out to friends and family that are going through things like that. Even when you see those little clues, you may not see bruises or a black eye, but you just check on them and don't stop checking on them. And I think that it's important for women like yourself to share your story and to go on a platform like this and basically share it nationally and internationally. In some countries, they'll see this as well, to say, hey, you can come out of this. So I want you to take a moment, or as long as you want, to talk to women out there and tell them how you did it and just give them some encouragement.
I did it by keeping my faith in God.
Amen.
I did it by believing that He has something great for me. I did it by never giving up. I followed my dreams throughout the whole domestic violence. I continued to go to school. I continued to be a mother, regardless of if I wasn't equipped to be the mother that I was supposed to be at that time. You can't give up, and you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself, mainly. You have to speak it that you're going to get out of it, and you have to talk to people. Staying sheltered in your room will not get you out of it. Blocking people out will not get you out of it. That best friend that you don't want to tell too much to, they will help you get out of it. I would say definitely call the police. Call the police and get a restraining order. There is a lot of women out here that are afraid to call the police because these men have drilled in their head that if you call the police, you don't love me, or if you call the police. I was able to call the police. I was able to get a restraining order, and their talk is basically what it is. Once you get the police involved and get a restraining order, you really don't have to fear. If you do have to fear, then there are other steps that you would need to take, but then there's get out plans for that. If you need to get you a get out plan and a get out method, get you some other people that's in your corner before you take that step to leave that home of domestic violence. But you definitely have to get out, especially if you have children. You're not only hurting yourself and you're not only suffering, but your kids are suffering 10 times more than you are, because not only are they suffering now, they will suffer throughout the rest of their life. While your life, you're already grown and you'll get out of it and you'll overcome it, but they're right behind you. So you're the example. So you definitely have to be the example and stand and say that we can do this. And then when you do get out, make sure that you know that they are okay, and make it mentally. Physically they'll be okay, but mentally you want to make sure that your kids are okay. And whoever you are out there that's listening to this, you can get out, you can survive, and you can be whoever you want to be.
So tell us about the logo. I love the shirt. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, tell us about the logo.
The logo, of course, is of a child who's speaking happiness, peace, free, and love. Silent No More is really about going into the community of the kids that are not already in the system. When majority of the kids that are already in the system will get help, they will get resources, and they will get some type of counseling. However, it won't be 100% because the parent 9 times out of 10 just wants the system out of their life. I'm trying to go into the community and educate the kids that are not in the system, but maybe seeing it in their home and don't know how to identify it. I'm trying to reach the kids that may have experienced it, but they didn't get the help and they don't know the true meaning of what domestic violence is, more so of someone coming into their life through the system, and then they don't want to hear it. Through a fun, educational, a learning experience that they can take on with them and remember it, whether it be through something that they do further on in life, but it'll be definitely something that they will remember instead of just being sat down at a table and someone talking about domestic violence. It's definitely for them to take with them throughout their life so they can teach someone else, and then someone else can teach someone else. We're aiming for the communities.
That's right.
Absolutely.
So what's up next for Silent No More?
Silent No More is currently getting a curriculum put together so that way we can go into the schools, we can go into the churches, we can go into after school programs. Anywhere that there is a kid playing, that's where we're trying to aim at. Whether it's a rich neighborhood or poverty-stricken neighborhood, the kids are seeing it, the kids are being exposed to it. So that our main goal is to get our curriculum finished, which should be done by next Friday. Thank you, Jesus. And then being able to approach the schools and being able to get it out there and to speak, and then to be able to get these kids something to do over the summer.
Right.
Hooking up with some other small businesses, and I'm hooking up with some other companies that'll actually be able to sponsor kids and get them in football, and not have to worry about the payment or not have to worry about anything, but definitely getting them out of the streets and focused on being leaders.
Right.
Finding their gifts, identifying their gifts, and then and let them run with it.
Awesome.
That's amazing. How can people get in touch with you if they, just want to talk? Maybe they don't want to necessarily, go straight to the police, or sometimes people reach for people that have come from where they are. How can people reach you, or if it's a business, business opportunity, all the above?
Definitely. I can be reached via phone, of course, at 317-728-6733, by email at silentnomorinc@yahoo.com. So that's SILENT, more, MOREINC@yahoo.com. Or you can visit my website at silentnomoreincorporated.org.
Awesome. So there you have it. Let me just say this. It's beautiful. I mean, I'm sitting up here, and it's just it's just wonderful to see a woman and see two women. But when I look at you, just to see this resilience, this thing of saying, she's in here, she's all dialed up, she got her shirt on, and it's just nice because it's like, when you look in the mirror, and see what you see. I mean, tell women about that. When you look in the mirror and you see what you see, and you see, and your story. Mm-hmm. Tell me the difference between what you saw then and what you see now.
What I saw then was a lost, confused, abused woman that just didn't know what she wanted to do. She knows she had a gift. She knew that there was something in her, but she just didn't know how to identify it. Today, I see when I look in the mirror a game changer, a survivor, someone who knows that she can do anything with Christ who strengthens her, someone who knows that anything that she put her mind to and work at it, she definitely can achieve it. Someone who don't give up, and just someone who doesn't put the past, she doesn't think about the past, and the only time she thinks about the past is when she's looking back to say, wow, I've been through that, but look how far I've come. Other than that, the past is just the past. I'm here today, and I am definitely ready to help whoever I can help.
All right now. The phrase they say, thank God I don't look like what I've been through.
Get you some of that. So what we're going to do, I'm going to say this real quick. That was in her before the abuse.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So ladies, anyone out there, ladies, men, whoever is going through something that causes you not to be the best you got to get in the mirror.
Definitely.
And when you get in the mirror, it's like those things that are hurting you, be able to talk about those things to yourself. Because what she's saying now was already there. Someone was trying to take it away from her.
Definitely.
So get that. Do what's necessary and make that call. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, Talia will continue to speak. You're watching the Greg Merriweather Show with Talia Speaks. Stay tuned. Keep our guests on. I mean, it's just been an incredible show. Right. We are enjoying our studio audience is having a blast. So anytime you want to just come and join us, just please feel free. Yeah. So I had a question. I have a great question. So what is the next phase? Tell people out there how you went from being a survivor or being in the abuse to being a survivor, handling your business, to the next relationship. Tell us what's next.
Good.
Before any relationship, I would definitely have a woman to identify herself, to find herself, and to know who she really is and what she really wants. So you definitely want to take time out for yourself. I myself have not gotten back into a relationship because I wanted to find me first. I wanted to focus on my girls first and to make sure that everything was okay in my home, and that even though domestic violence was out of my life as a woman, I wanted to make sure that it was out of my home. So I have not got into a relationship at all. It's been celibate since, so don't think that you won't get in a relationship, or that you think that since you're out of it that you can just jump on to the next person. If you're not healed, it will still you'll hurt the next person that comes along, and he could be the one for you, but if you're not healed, then a lot of the anger, a lot of the issues, the emotional abuse, all of that would just be buried and get poured onto the next relationship. So you definitely want to figure out who you are and to know who you are before you actually just jump into another relationship. So.
And I think that's so true what you said. They always talk about, man is not going to settle down until he finds himself. So don't even. It goes for just people in general. When you have turmoil in your life and you're still trying to find your way, it's hard to be in a regular relationship, let alone an abusive one. So that is key. Find yourself, find your passion, meditate, pray, and ask God to just give you strength, give you guidance, discernment, and put you on the right path, and guarantee you won't even have to focus on finding a man or a woman, because they're just going to mesh right in with you on your path. So
and open wounds find their way to sickness. And so I think that you definitely have to make sure that wound is healed, because when you have an open wound, it's like all kinds of infection and things can take place, and you'll deal with things differently. You know, all of a sudden, like you said, the good guy or the good woman, it's like you're dealing with them like they're them.
Yes.
Because you haven't put that to bed yet. And I think that you have to do that, because what happens, and this is just a phrase that I've heard 1,000 times over, hurting people hurt people.
Definitely.
And so we just, you are absolutely correct on the healing piece of that. So you have 2 girls.
Yes.
So tell us, how old are they now?
9 and 13.
9 and 13. You got a 13-year-old.
Yes, teenager.
Know all about it.
Hey, girl.
So what's the message? Because you know, when you look at domestic violence now and all and the abuse thing, I mean, so much happens now. These kids are so fast. How do you go about addressing that now from that age perspective? How do you address that with your daughter? And you know, she's getting close to being 16, and you know, I mean, boys are moving quick. Everybody's moving fast now. Let's just keep it real.
Yes, definitely.
What's the message? What's the message now?
When it comes to domestic violence, it's pointing it out. So it's not so more so of just speaking to them. With so much, they're exposed with so much on social medias, on sites. You definitely can pull it up and show them. Because you can speak to them all day long, and you can say, hey, you know, if a man yells at you, if a man hits you, that is wrong. But actually showing them how it is, and then telling them my story. I have nothing to hide, because I want them to know what is right and what is wrong. So letting them know what it is, identifying, and then making sure that they know exactly what it is, making sure that they can reiterate what domestic violence and child abuse is. Before I got out here in this community, I definitely have to make sure that my girls knew what domestic violence and child abuse was, what anger was. They had to know. So just sitting them down, asking them first to see what level they know what it is at, and then just speaking to them at that level, and then just kind of gradually bringing it up, gradually moving it up to another level to where they understand it. Because I can give it to them at an adult level, at a mommy level, but I need to make sure that they understand it at their age and at their level. Because talking to my 13-year-old won't be the same as talking to my 9-year-old. It'll be 2 different levels. So definitely talking to them at their level of understanding with domestic violence and what it is, and then to be able to identify it. And I can give an example. My daughter actually came to me the other day, and she told me that a friend of hers came to her and said that her mother was hitting her, and she showed her abuse or bruises, shall I say, I'm sorry. And then she basically came to me and said, Mommy, I know that you deal with it and I know what it is. I want to come to you and tell you so that you can come up to the school and talk to her. So that's an example of knowing that my daughters are able to identify it. They're able to get it out and speak and be a voice about it.
Absolutely.
And that's the whole key, is to definitely be a voice.
Okay.
And that's because of you. And they are.
So now you got the world watching,
Yes.
and so all the guys out there watching, they want to, they want to know.
No,
She done
she
came
said
she done came in here. She done came in here whipped up, and you know got her hair up, and makeup, and smiling, and got her sparkles and stuff. So tell us what Mr. Possibly Right looks like. Tell him. Tell him.
There is no Mr. Look. There is no look for Mr. Possible. Who is for me? I believe God will send for me. He will have a passion for kids of someone, or will have a passion to help himself. I definitely want him to love his health as much as he loves his life. Because, you know, if you don't take care of yourself, then when you get 60 and 70, I'm going to have to take care of you. So I ask that you do take care of your health.
Stay in the gym.
Definitely appreciate your health.
I done opened up some.
Appreciate life, and definitely he has to be a God-fearing man. He has to know who God is, and he definitely has to belong to somebody's church, and know who his pastor is, and not just say he belongs to a church. But again, that person who's out there, he's definitely for me. God already knows who he is, and I'm praying that he is doing great wherever you are.
Amen.
Y'all heard it out there, fellas. Now you heard the criteria, so
You got checked.
gotta get with it. Started something now.
They started something. So yes, I think it's dynamic. I think that you are testimony for so many people out there, so many women out there. I mean, Super Bowl we had, and that's like tell them about Super Bowl and domestic violence. Isn't that like the number one day? The day after the game or the night of the game is like one of the number one times for domestic violence. I didn't know that, but I know that.
I think I heard something like that.
Well, I haven't actually heard in reference to that. I did see the domestic violence commercial. I am following and doing some things with No More, because that's the big company that messes with the Super Bowl. So I am following them and kind of affiliated and reaching out to them a lot more to get more and to see what more I can do with them. But I would assume the reason for that is, one, in reference to most likely alcohol and most likely gambling. With they may lose money or they may. And the women are probably nagging them. Don't nag the men when the Super Bowl is on. But, and not a joke, but definitely it probably all evolves back around anger. And it all comes back to anger. Again, maybe he could have lost the bet. Maybe he did lose, or he was drunk, and that evolves back around to domestic violence, a controlling thing. Maybe they could have left and went out while he went to Super Bowl, or he could have stayed out long. And then, so it's different aspects of why it could be. And with the Super Bowl, I didn't look it up too much, but I can kind of sense of why they're saying that.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the top times for domestic abuse is after Super Bowl, which is amazing. Because and I didn't even see the ad for domestic violence after Super Bowl, but just kind of doing a little bit of research. Ding. I kind of fell into that. So it's something, because when you talk about domestic violence, there are so many different factors that may feed into it. Whether he grew up in abuse, whether he drinks excessively, can't handle his liquor, does something, has all these trigger points. So when it's all said and done, it stems all the way back around to mental health. Definitely. Mental health. So I feel you on that, and definitely need to make sure, gentlemen, women, keep your hands to yourself, unless it's in a loving way. Okay, keep your hands to yourself unless you're giving somebody some love, and that just goes full circle, because you're now seeing a lot of teachers involved, with kids and all kind of stuff in the news here in Indianapolis, and we definitely have to play a major role, in making sure that this thing is handled. And so just, from us to you, I just want to say thank you for the work you're doing. And, here at the show, you definitely have some advocates on whatever it is we can do to promote your business and help you help others. We're here. Definitely. So it's just been an awesome thing to have you on as our first guest. We can't even we don't ever forget her.
Not at all. Your energy, your spirit, I can feel just your positive energy, and I could just tell that you have really blossomed, and you're on your way to some great things.
Thank you.
So what we're gonna do is take a quick break. We're gonna come back. We're gonna talk some sports and entertainment, and let Tahlia do her thing, and we're gonna talk Cam Newton, Peyton Manning, and Beyonce. So stay tuned. You're watching the Greg Merriweather Show with Tahlia Speaks. We'll be right back. With the Greg Merriweather Show, featured with Tahlia Speaks. And I just really, before we get into talking about Super Bowl, I think the guest we had was phenomenal.
Absolutely.
The lessons that we learned today, just about self-love and getting yourself back on track, getting yourself together, and removing yourself from the murkiness. I just think she did a phenomenal job. So anybody out there listening, make sure you don't deal with the mess. All right?
Done that at all.
It's on you.
It's on me. So, Greg provides the real issues. Not saying I don't bring real issues, because I can chime in on some real stuff. But, everybody wants a little sports entertainment, in their lives. So that's the piece that I'll be bringing to the show. And, I just have to start. You guys see the picture up there with the Super Bowl. And I'm going to be honest, because I was a little torn with who I wanted to win. Because I am a Colts fan at heart. Anybody that knows me and loves me knows that I'm a diehard fan. And I still have some sense of loyalty to Peyton. So I was like, well, if he wins, I'll be happy for him. But then, I'm not gonna lie, Cam, the brother, he's very, very, very educated, well-spoken young man, very intelligent, and I just sensed the hate. It was almost like a double standard with him. I mean, the media, he was constantly under attack about some flip-flops or why he answered a question a certain way. So it was like, man, but I want him to pull through too. So, needless to say, there was a lot of controversy surrounding the game, and I put this picture up because there was someone, not even someone, half the world saying that Cam just stormed off the field and didn't congratulate anybody, just stormed off like a sore loser. You see that he was a class act and did congratulate Peyton at the end of the game. And, we know that we've all been in this position where we've lost, not necessarily sports, it could be, a card game. Nobody likes to lose. And like he said, you show me a good loser and I'll show you a loser. And I think with these games, what people fail to understand is when you're under that big of a spotlight and you have the world watching you and you lose a game so big as the Super Bowl, when you've only lost like a couple games throughout the season, sometimes people need time to calm down and get out of their emotions after a heartbreaking loss. I mean, there were players crying on the sidelines, and I just feel like that he was unfairly targeted. And I'm gonna say because he's black. I mean, I don't know what other reason that there is. So I know you had posted some things on Facebook and you were going in. I'm like, yeah, I agree. So what do you think about this? What do you have to say about this situation?
One of the things that really gets me is I think that the target is on Cam Newton's back for the simple fact that there are more children who can benefit from looking at him. We talk about being president, and that is the biggest stretch. But when we talk about being able to get to the league, even though it's a hard stretch, getting to the league and being a quarterback or being an athlete, it's like it can be done. It's a lot of hard work. I think when you look at Cam Newton, he's not tatted, he's not pierced. He dresses the role. He wears suits. I mean, very well spoken. He's nice team. So when you look at Cam Newton, he's like the brother. He's like the brother of our brothers. He's like the guy who's on it. And there's nothing scarier to them than that.
Someone that won't conform.
Yeah, and I love the fact on what he said in his last interview, and he's like, people talk about I should be more like this and more like that, or more like this person. I'm me.
Right.
And I'm happy about it. And I wouldn't change it because that's not how I was built. I was built to be Cam Newton. And to me, that is phenomenal. That's the message. But after that, more people will be scared. Because he's like, it's okay to be you. And that's the lesson. And for me, I'm like, preach, Cam.
Right, and I think he is the epitome of what an outspoken, intelligent, classy African American man is. And I think, like you said, a lot of people fear that, or they don't know how to take that. They kind of cringe, or they feel like, oh, well, something's got to be wrong, or let me find something to nitpick with him about his flip flops. Or
think about this. You're in the athletics. Haven't we had this before? Haven't we had this guy before? And when we look at this guy, he's a new age, but we've had this guy before, and this guy that we had was once named Cassius Clay.
All right now.
He was brash, he handled his business, and he stood for something.
Unapologetic.
And he wasn't apologizing for being black. And we've had this guy, and it's funny how they vilify him now, but I can almost guarantee you someday we'll live to see Cam Newton become a national hero just because he stands up for who he is. He'll be the example of saying, you don't change it. Once he starts winning, once he gets the Super Bowl, it's over.
And it makes me wonder, like, what would have happened had he won? Had they won that game? Would we be singing the same tune, or like, you know, standing up for him and almost outraged at how he's being treated by the media? I feel like he would be a hero almost. Like, oh, it's a storybook ending. You know, the knight in shining armor. I mean, the Carolina Panthers. I mean, we know that they kind of been through the trenches the past few years with the teams and coaches and such. So, you know, here he is coming in and basically just, I mean, he wrote the course. I mean, he was with them for some time when they weren't doing very well.
I mean, think about this. He said something that is so monumental. He said, when it's all said and done, we only lost 2 games. We only lost 2 games. And that's something to be scared about anyway.
Right.
So it's like, NFL, be prepared. Because you got a guy whose second loss came in the Super Bowl.
Right.
That's something to be said. That's something to be said. And, you know, for people other than black people who looked at Cam Newton's attitude after losing that game, that was Cam Newton's first Super Bowl.
Hey.
So everything that you saw on that podium in that press conference was everything from the beginning of his football days as a little kid, and he finally made it to that place. So yes, the emotion will be high.
Absolutely.
Yes, I'm gonna be sad. That was my first time since I was a baby getting to that point. How else do you expect me to deal with it? That was my ultimate goal, my first time. I made it in spite of all the negativity, whether it was in grade school, junior high school, college. I'm here. I didn't win, but I'm here. So now my emotion comes out.
Right. Absolutely.
I'm not a machine.
And although, you know, he is a free athlete, you know, he's very talented, but he is not, he's human. And as we all go through our emotions, and sometimes I honestly don't think there was anything wrong. I didn't look at him like, oh, he's such a sore sport. I looked at him being real, and I appreciate authenticity in people, whether I agree with what you're doing or not. If you're keeping it real and you're being your true self, I mean, I can't do anything but respect you. So, I mean, not only is he a talented athlete, I respect him as a man, and, you know, I know that he has some great things lined up for his future. So, maybe one day he can come on the show.
There you have it. Come on, man.
So, you know, speaking of Super Bowl, you can go to the next slide. We're going to talk about Queen Bee for a second.
Queen Bee.
We're still talking about
Queen Bee.
let's
talk about her.
Has it been like a week yet? I think that, I mean, it's been almost a week, and I think this is probably the main piece they're talking about with the Super Bowl. Bump the game, Peyton Manning, Cam Newton, like this has been the topic of conversation. And not only because Beyonce is a superstar and she's always bringing it, she's on point, her performances are the bomb, but there was something a little different about this performance. And as you can see in the background, you see some women with they're wearing their natural hair, all black, afros. And if you can go to the next slide, you see them strutting through the field, ready to get information.
Yeah.
And, you know, yeah.
Like power.
I mean, hey, call it what you want, you know, and it just, it's hard. I was dealing with like a middle, I was kind of like in the middle. I was mad at black people and I was mad at some white people. Because I'm like, both of you guys are just missing the point of this performance. I don't think it was necessarily anti-white performance. It was more like, we're tired of being shot. No, we're not saying that all policemen are bad, all law enforcement are bad. That's like saying every person we meet is a bad person and not capable of doing anything good. That's not true. What she was trying to portray, and you know, I'm just interpreting this, was that we're tired. We're going to be strong. We're going to get information, and we're going to fight this together. And so, you know, I think that the backlash that she's receiving, I think a mayor or somebody in Canada or some type of politician wants to have her investigated for ties to the Black Panthers and wants to boycott her coming into their country. There were some comments on Facebook that I think I seen it that said, yeah, Beyonce, you know, talking all about Black Power and being for Black people, but she had a wig on. I'm gonna let that marinate for a second.
She got it from a black-owned company.
She had a wig on. Why did she wear her afro if it was about that? And it just kind of really makes me sad, because this is why it's so hard for us to come together as a people, because we're looking at small things that don't matter. Who cares? Like, you guys watch this show long enough, you'll see me with a few different hairstyles. I will throw in some clip-ins. I will wear my natural afro. That's just who I am. Hair has nothing to do with how black my spirit is or how black of a woman I am. Yes.
You'll see me with different hairstyles.
We gonna get him.
I'm wearing afro.
So yeah. So what are your thoughts on that as a you know, as you watched?
You know, T. I think that when I saw this, there were two things in my head. Mm-hmm. One, yes, I love the fact that it was formation.
Right.
But I think that, you know, what better time to say get in line than February? I mean, it's Black History Month.
50th anniversary.
50th,
Black Panthers.
Black Panthers.
An activist group, not a hate group.
So it all just came together.
Right.
And I think that if there's a bigger story, it's saying white America does not want to look at black history. There are parts of black history that they want to say, forget about it, erase it, it's done, and you don't need that anymore.
Right.
And that's the myth that they get to sell to some people. Some people, this is something, you know, that has just come to mind. If more black people stayed in the fight after they got a check.
Say that again.
That's a problem. See, that's the problem they having with Beyonce.
Yeah.
Because now you're talking about a $1 billion black couple who is talking civil rights.
God forbid you do it.
It gives me chills, because Martin Luther King said it. He said, if there's one part of the civil rights movement we forgot, it was the money. Now you got two people with a whole lot of money talking about, let's get it right. Of course it's a problem.
Right. Because they have they're some of the biggest stars in the world, and they don't like it. And I think that, you know, knowing, and I think people didn't really see a lot of the things they were doing on the back end, you know, donating millions to Flint, building, I think it was over, I don't know what country it was. It was Africa. I don't know exactly where.
They gave the water.
Yeah,
did the waters.
Yeah. And that was like many years ago.
Yeah, 11 years ago almost.
Yeah. Beyonce built a $7 million homeless shelter in Houston. But they've always been a private couple, and they never had to boast or take pictures and put it on Facebook. Not saying that they have to, or that's wrong to do.
Jay-Z just gave $1 million to the Black Lives Matter cause.
Yep, yep. So, you know, this is the most bold statement that has been made, a blatant statement like, hey, not only are we doing things behind the scenes, but we're going to use our star power to show you guys that we see what's going on. Oh, we're woke, regardless of what you think. Oh, they don't care. They too busy traveling and getting money and being seen with, you know, the white America and, you know, the famous white people. No, they're woke. They're very woke.
They're very woke. And that's the thing. I love the fact, though, the Illuminati thing out.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, get rid of it, because now they're helping you. So get rid of it, because now they're helping you.
African American people talking, swearing up and down about this little Illuminati,
right?
And it's like,
well, that's because when you're trained, because what happens is they look and say the only way you can have money is if you worship the devil. Who told you that?
It's so unfortunate.
But then go to church and be like, my father has 1,000 cattle on 1,000 hills. Really? Well, why'd you ask him for something?
Right.
Okay? So I think that is, I mean, when you look at it, though, the ultimate thing is we're still viewed, and that's the problem with Cam Newton, is because when you look at the Super Bowl, it's their event. Yep. You're invited. It's such a privilege. It's a privilege for you to be here, Beyonce. So listen, don't bring your little black dancers and your wigs and be wearing leather and Tams and stuff and looking like Stokely Carmichael and them on our football field during our event where billions of us are watching. Right. We only want you to do the dances that we tell you to do. Right. Like we used to. Okay? So that's all that is, and I think that we need to rally behind it.
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah, go give me a afro wig.
We're gonna do that too. Don't challenge me. I'm gonna bring one now. I can get it from Chinese shop.
Black
$5.
leather. Black leather next
Yeah.
week.
Yeah. We're gonna hold him to it, guys. I'm gonna bring that wig and he's gonna wear it for at least the first half of the show. All right, so don't forget. So okay, so we're gonna get off football for a minute. Basketball is one of my favorite sports. I played went through basically elementary all through high school, so it's one of my favorite sports. And I think it was yesterday or the day before a list. I think ESPN was doing the all-time list.
Oh, that mess.
Of these players, and I think they had LeBron James as number 3.
Mess.
And was Magic 2, and then Michael Jordan was number 1. Well,
number 2 is all the way. Number 3 is all the way wrong.
He shouldn't even be in what?
He should probably be in the top. He maybe top 10.
Top 10.
Maybe, because you still got a whole lot of people. But number 3 is still playing. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Are you gonna say? Okay, can I guess? Can I guess who it is?
I ain't gonna say that. You can guess, and please get it right. We're gonna have to cut the camera.
I know. Wait. Okay. Hold on.
My opinion.
He's still playing.
Still playing.
Can I? Okay. Is he older or younger than LeBron?
He's older.
Man.
He was just here.
Kobe.
You know it.
And speaking of which, yes,
You
Kobe.
know it.
Kobe, I have a lot of respect for Kobe. He has not always been my favorite player. I don't do well with arrogance.
Blasphemy.
But one thing about him is I respect him, and I respect his game, and I think he's an amazing player, as do many people. I think I've heard LeBron say that he's like the best player in the world, and then I think he just gave Paul George his shoes, and Paul George is looking like a big
Like
kid.
a kid.
Like, ooh, Kobe Bryant shoes. So, I mean, that pretty much...
But hold on. Dwayne Wade, Durant, LeBron, everybody in the league now said, that's our Jordan. Everybody has said it.
And his game is definitely like Jordan. I mean,
And so, if those people who are considered the best of the best can say he's the best thing we've ever seen, and then you go back in time, and those people say, well, Michael's the best they've ever seen.
right.
He gotta be 1 to 3. He's in the range of 1 to 3. There's no way he was like number 10.
Oh, that's what?
It was some ridiculous numbers.
I want to pull this up on.
And he's the only player in the NBA with 30,000 points and 5,000 assists.
And how many
history.
rings does he have?
5
Right.
golden.
That
was not rehearsed.
Yes, that was a good one.
Yeah.
So that was pretty weird. Yeah, I would have thought he would have at least the top 5. I mean, I don't know. This kind of reminds me, and we're gonna switch gears a little bit and go to the music side of it. Do you remember the top 10 list that came out? The Billboard's top 10 rappers.
I do remember.
And I was looking at the list like, ooh,
It was jacked up.
it was so jacked.
Top 3 was pretty good.
The top 3 were cool, but let's leave it at that. We've already had our debates about Tupac and Biggie. And
We're gonna save that one. 'Cause that's
We'll save that for
we're gonna save
another
that for a show. That's gonna be a good one.
Yes, it is. Because, I mean, honestly, I will say when we talked about it last week, you did bring up some good points. I mean, about the messages, some of the messages that Tupac had. But I think he was just a troubled person. But at the end of the day, I think he was a good artist, and he had a message.
Okay. I'm going to say this, and then we're going to go to a quick break. Revolutionaries don't tell their own people to kill each other. That's a whole nother story.
I didn't call him a revolutionary now. I didn't say that. You guys did not hear that word coming out of my mouth. I wouldn't say he was a revolutionary.
But one of the most passionate rappers you'll ever hear on Wax is Tupac Shakur, and we'll keep it real at that. In February, while February ends, and we get into the death of the Notorious Big in March, and I believe that will be on the 6th.
Yeah.
And so, what we'll do right now is we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to do our wrap up. Let Talia Speaks do her thing, and then I'll finish out this show. We thank you so much for being with us. You're watching the Greg Merriweather Show with Talia Speaks.
Y'all not know I can rhyme, did you? No. We're back with the Greg Merriweather Show with Talia Speaks myself. And before the break, we were just talking about sports and basketball. And I do want to let you guys know that the women's Final Four is here in Indianapolis in April. So you definitely want to get out there, support the women, support women in sports, definitely. And I don't know, is what am I trying? Somebody just got married.
Tamika
Catchings. What college did she go to?
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Right for Coach Pat. Pat Summit.
Pat Summit. Yeah. So definitely tune into that. But so I just want to say, I know we're about to wrap up here soon. This was our first show and our pilot episode, and we just want to thank everybody for tuning in today. And just take a time out your day, whether you listen for 5 minutes or the whole 2 hours. We just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to Greg for this opportunity, giving me a platform. Thank you to VU Live, Stop Even Radio, Mike Trees for even plugging me with this. I want to say thank you, and I just really look forward to just working with the community and most importantly just helping the community. So thank you.
Yay. I appreciate it. For me it's been fun. It's with the grind, it's funny, because when you're out there and you're in the trenches, people generally, I wrote something that says people don't normally know what you go through when you decide to take on this journey. And so, I want to dedicate this show to Marshawn McCarroll, who was a civil rights activist, and he was part of the Your Life Matters group that was in Columbus, Ohio, 23 years old, who took his life earlier this week. And so just a shout out, to his people and his family in that group. And I would just urge you all to stay in the fight. People don't know how hard it is. And I always call it the scar tissue, because we have to fight through us to get to the outside to make a change.
So true.
And it's like we have to get to a point where we embrace our leaders, we embrace people who decide to take on this challenge, because it is a huge challenge. Because when you have been trained to think a certain way about your people, it is not only a hard work, but it is a work of art to get that mind state changed.
Definitely.
I want to say thank you to everyone who is watching. Real quick, I want Talia to say, where can they find you?
You can find me at I am Talia Speaks on Instagram. That's I am TAHLIASPEAKS. And then also I'm on Talia Speaks Media on Facebook and YouTube, Talia Speaks Media, SoundCloud. So I pretty much got any social media platform. You can probably find me just by typing Talia Speaks.
Google.
You can Google me too. I don't have that many hits, but I'll come up.
For Greg Merriweather, I have a show on every Tuesday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. called Black on Black, the Black on Black radio show through Radio Next. You can find me on Facebook under Greg Merriweather, and you can also find the Black on Black radio show on Facebook. Please, if you go to the page, like the page. There's a lot of information that you can get every day on that page from all over the country that shows you what we're doing, how we're living, where we struggle, where we get better. So please do that. The Black on Black website will be coming to life now. There will be a marketplace on there. So if you're out there and you're selling things and you have things you want to promote, your business, your life, whatever, please holler at us on that. But we'll be here on VU Live every Thursday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And I'm just totally elated about that. So in wrapping up, I just want to say we had a person on here, a young lady on here who experienced domestic violence. But when you get to the crux of it and the core of it, the biggest thing about it is to love yourself. And when we begin to love ourselves, there's nothing that we cannot do. And there's no way that we can love anyone else until we begin to love ourselves. So I would just urge you to take the time, hug yourself, tell yourself you can do it, tell yourself you're the best, tell yourself there's no one better, and tell yourself I deserve the best, and not settle for anything after that. I believe once we do that, then you get into the distribution of giving your love to someone else. And also, when you get that type of love, you can look across from your brother or your sister and not deal with them as harshly as we've dealt with ourselves. Right. Because at that point, the negativity that you may distribute only hurts you. So that's what this show is about. It was about self-love. So if you're in domestic violence or anything that is harmful to you, get it out.
Absolutely.
but make sure when you do it, you build yourself back up, as this young lady did. We thank you so much.
Thank you.
We will be here every week. We are committed to this. We are committed to
Yes,
you.
we are.
We will be truly bringing you just the top-notch news, and we're going to laugh all the way through. You're watching the Greg Meriwether Show with Talia Speaks, and we'll see you next week. Much love.